It was a morning like any other. The sun was rising, gilding the surface of the Pacific, and life was going on as usual. No one on land, not even the most advanced satellites, noticed the anomaly forming in the depths, a silent whirlpool, a distortion in the fabric of space-time. That anomaly was not a sea current. It was not a known natural phenomenon. It was something totally new, an event that defied all the laws of physics we know. A perfect whirlpool, spinning counterclockwise, which gradually began to gain speed, sucking in plankton, fish, and anything else in its path. Its power increased with every second, and the water around it seemed darker, denser. Gradually, the whirlpool became an abyss, a black spiral that seemed to lead nowhere. Only a few underwater pressure sensors, operated by an isolated research team, detected the abrupt drop in water pressure. A warning sign that was ignored, a reading error. The team believed it was an equipment malfunction, a common technical problem in deep waters. They could not imagine that the fault was not in their devices, but in their understanding of the world. Nature, which they studied so much, was about to show them a new face, a face that no one had ever seen before. Marine life, driven by a primal instinct for self-preservation, began to flee the area in a massive and desperate migration. Thousands of fish, whales, and dolphins moved away from their point of origin in a race against the invisible. Deep-sea fishing boats noticed the scarcity of schools of fish, a typical behavior that indicated a profound disturbance in the ecosystem. Something was disrupting the normal flow of life, pushing creatures away from their usual routes to an uncertain destination. Sailors with decades of experience commented on the strange silence that had taken over the ocean. The sound of the waves seemed more muffled, and the wind lighter. An ominous calm settled in, the calm before the storm. The calm, however, did not last long. Suddenly, the ocean surface began to churn, as if a giant rock had been thrown into a lake. Giant waves, defying the laws of gravity, formed and dissipated in a matter of seconds, like the irregular pulse of a dying heart. The whirlpool, now visible from afar, expanded, forming a giant crater in the middle of the ocean. A crater that was not caused by a meteor or an earthquake. It was a portal, a passage to another place, or perhaps to the void. The water wasn't just moving, it was being sucked away, taken to an unknown dimension. A wormhole, a point of no return. The universe, which we believed to be a uniform space, revealed a fissure, a door that opened to a reality that science barely dared to speculate about. The whirlpool grew at a frightening speed. What began as an imperceptible anomaly was now an open wound on the planet, a giant vortex in the middle of the ocean. Water, in unimaginable quantities, was sucked into the hole like a cosmic drain. Suddenly, the lack of water in the Pacific could no longer be ignored. Satellites, which had previously shown the vast blue expanse, now revealed a rapidly expanding black spot, a growing scar on the Earth's surface. The spot was so large that it could even be seen from space. The scientific community, previously skeptical, went into shock. Climate, hydrological, and geological models, which had taken decades to build, were collapsing in real time. No theory, no equation, could explain what was happening. The first consequences were felt on the coasts of Asia and Oceania. Sea levels began to drop at an alarming rate. What were once beaches teeming with life became plains of wet sand. The once busy ports now had stranded ships and fishing boat skeletons visible in the distance. Fishermen and sailors, accustomed to the immensity of sea, saw the horizon recede, revealing coral reefs, ocean abysses, and the wreckage of long-lost vessels. The seabed was transformed into a lunar landscape, revealing secrets that humanity never thought it would see. Marine life, desperate, struggled in muddy lakes or fled en masse to what remained of the ocean. Panic spread throughout the world. Most governments did not know how to react. The news, initially treated as rumors or a localized disaster, soon became the only thing anyone talked about. TV and radio broadcasts from every country showed the same image, the wormhole. The media, previously concerned with politics and economics, focused on trying to understand the inexplicable. Journalists, their voices trembling, broadcast images of perplexed scientists, panicked authorities, and desperate populations. Humanity, which had always considered itself the dominant species, the owner of the planet, realized that it was only a guest, and that the host, the planet itself, was showing a frightening and unknown side. The absence of water affected the global climate. Ocean currents, which function as the planet's circulatory system, stopped flowing. Heat began to accumulate in certain areas, while others became abnormally cold. Storms, which previously formed in the ocean, lost their strength or turned into completely new phenomena. Air humidity dropped dramatically, and pollution, which had previously been absorbed by water and vegetation, began to accumulate in the atmosphere. The clouds that had once covered the sky dissipated. The relentless sun began to shine on a constantly changing landscape, revealing an uncertain future. The race to find a solution began. The greatest minds on the planet, scientists from all fields, joined forces in a global effort. Quantum physicists, oceanographers, biologists, and astronomers all worked together to try to unravel the mystery. They used supercomputers to simulate the event, but the results were always the same. The wormhole was an irreversible phenomenon, a point of singularity that fed on matter itself. Faced with the inevitable, humanity made a bold decision. Instead of waiting for the end, they would go to the source of the problem. The only chance of survival was to understand what was on the other side of the wormhole and, if possible, reverse the process. The idea was as insane as it was brilliant. An exploration mission, a journey with no guaranteed return to a place that even quantum physics was unable to describe. Nations, once divided by ideologies and borders, pooled their resources and brightest minds for a single purpose: to build a spacecraft. Not an ordinary spacecraft, but a vessel capable of withstanding the gravitational distortions, extreme pressures, and energetic phenomena that awaited it. An engineering challenge that, in normal times, would have taken centuries to complete was accelerated by an imminent threat. The ship, named Esperança, was built from materials recovered from satellites and decommissioned nuclear power plants. Its structure was a fusion of technology and improvisation, a testament to human desperation and ingenuity. It had no windows, only high-tech sensors and cameras capable of capturing images of everything around it. Its power source was a small fusion reactor, secretly developed by a team of scientists who believed in its potential. The crew was handpicked, an elite team consisting of an astrophysicist, a biologist, an engineer, and a pilot. They were the last hope, a quartet of anonymous heroes who would sacrifice their lives for a future they might never see. While the ship was being finalized, the planet continued to change. The rain stopped, the forests began to dry up, and the air became increasingly thin. Desperation led to looting and conflicts over drinking water, a resource that became more valuable than gold. The oceans, now vast salt flats, revealed a series of secrets, from lost cities to fossils of creatures that science did not even know existed. Nature, once lush, was transformed into an arid and inhospitable landscape, a reflection of what would become the new normal for the planet. On launch day, millions of people gathered to watch the event. It was not a celebration, but a vigil. The ship took off amid the silence and anxiety of the crowd, on a vertical flight that took it to the edge of the atmosphere. It did not head into outer space, but to the center of the wormhole, the point of origin of all the chaos. Esperança was the symbol of a new era, an era of uncertainty, but also of courage and determination. The crew, at their stations, watched the readings on their instruments, ready for the journey. They knew that the science that guided them was only a theory, and that what would follow would be humanity's greatest adventure, a blind leap into darkness. The ship approached the vortex, its structure shaking under the pressure. The images transmitted back to Earth showed a show of lights and colors, an explosion of energy that defied physics. The ship disappeared in a fraction of a second, swallowed by the anomaly. On Earth, silence fell, a deep and frightening silence. Contact with the ship was lost. What was on the other side, no one knew. Humanity, now without its greatest resource, water, looked up at the sky, at the absence of clouds, and at what remained of the oceans, waiting for a sign, an answer. The ship traveled through a tunnel of light and energy, a journey that lasted what seemed like seconds, but to the crew, it felt like an eternity. The onboard computers processed data at a speed never before seen, but the information was so strange that it made no sense to the scientists. zero gravity, electromagnetic fields that changed direction in fractions of a second, and energy waves that did not fit into any known theory. Reality unfolded and reconfigured itself around them, like a fabric being unraveled and rewoven without any logic. The crew, trained to face the unknown, realized that what was happening was much more than they could handle. It was physics itself collapsing, a dance of particles and forces that defied sanity. At every moment, the sensors detected new realities, new dimensions that opened and closed. The astrophysicist, at his station, struggled to find patterns in the readings, but all he saw was chaos. The numbers, which had always been the basis of his profession, became a succession of meaningless symbols. The engineer, meanwhile, monitored the ship's protection system, which was working at full capacity to protect the crew from radiation and gravitational forces. With each distortion, she felt the metal groan, the structures contort, and the energy shield flash red. They were in an environment for which they were not made, where the laws of their home universe did not apply. The journey was like diving into a nightmare, where every turn of the road was a new terrifying surprise. Suddenly, the turbulence stopped, the energy tunnel dissipated, and the ship emerged into a new landscape. The cameras showed a sky that was not blue, but a deep purple, dotted with vibrantly colored stars. The sun, if it was a sun, was a binary star, one red and one blue, dancing in perfect orbit. The ground seen in the distance was not Earth, but a crystalline material that reflected the lights of the sky. There was no air, no gravity. The environment was a vacuum, but not the cold, inert vacuum they knew. It was a vacuum full of life, energy, and frightening beauty. A place where the laws of physics they knew were not only different, but non-existent. It was the home of the wormhole. The team's biologist, amid the chaos, tried to analyze the composition of the environment. He found particles of dark matter and energy that did not exist in the universe they knew. He also noticed a structure, which looked like an ocean of light, pulsating at the center of the universe. It was a liquid of energy, a sea of light that moved and writhed, as if it were alive. It was the source of all the water that Earth was losing. The water on our planet was being transmuted into energy and sucked into this new dimension. The reason for the theft of water was not an alien attack, but a natural phenomenon in a dimension where matter behaves differently, where water was the source of energy. The engineer, amid the new landscape, discovered something even more surprising. The ship was not only navigating a new universe, but interacting with it. The energy shield that had previously protected them was feeding off the ocean of light. It was not only defending the ship, it was absorbing energy and growing stronger, creating a link between the two universes. Hope arose, timid but real. The ship was not just an exploration vessel, it was a catalyst, a bridge between two realities. The mission, which had seemed impossible, now had a new purpose, not only to understand the wormhole, but to find a way to reverse the process, to return the water to Earth, and to restore the balance of the universe. The team's engineer, with the help of her companions, worked on a bold plan, to use the absorbed energy to reverse the process and transform the light back into water. The idea was a shot in the dark. They would channel the energy of the new universe through the ship, using its reactors as catalysts to recreate the raw material of life that Earth had lost. It was like trying to fill a bucket with a drop of water, but the team was determined. The lives of billions of people depended on it. While the engineer prepared the systems, the astrophysicist and biologist tried to understand the dimension that surrounded them. They discovered that the ocean of light was not static, but a complex ecosystem of energies and particles, with its own laws of physics. The ship was becoming a parasite, sucking the life out of one universe to sustain another. The discovery raised an ethical question. Did the salvation of humanity justify the destruction of a new form of existence, however strange and incomprehensible it might be? The answer, though painful, was unanimous. They had to act. The pilot initiated the operation. She maneuvered the ship to the center of the ocean of light, the source of all energy. The fusion reactor, which had previously been a simple source of energy, now became a converter. The ship glowed with blinding intensity as light was sucked in, processed, and expelled through its thrusters. The energy, upon being released, was no longer light, but water droplets. droplets that came together to form small streams, which in turn joined to form rivers. An ocean of water, born from the ocean of light. On Earth, the whole world watched with bated breath. The wormhole, which had previously sucked up water, began to do the opposite. It did not close, but began to release water. Not in an uncontrolled torrent, but in a steady and growing flow. Water, in the form of clouds and rain, began to fall on the dry oceans, on the cities, and on the forests. People, who had previously despaired over the lack of water, now knelt in gratitude, crying with relief under the rain. The ocean was reborn. Life, which seemed to have abandoned the planet, began to return. The greenery, which had previously disappeared, began to spread once again. The wormhole became a portal of life, a reverse drain that returned to the planet what it had taken away. The ship, Hope, fulfilled its mission. It not only saved humanity, but also demonstrated that the universe is a place of infinite possibilities, where the impossible is only a matter of time and knowledge.